Greetings, salutations, hello! Today I want to talk about the pain that almost killed my dreadlocks. Okay, so you might have seen that recently I've already made a video on dreadlocks and neck pain, and I want to keep that really simple and general and just hit the points that when you start dreadlocks, they don't weigh any more than the hair did before you started the dreadlocks. They only gain weight really slowly and gradually as the hair grows and more hair gets added, and as long as you're reasonably active, that your muscles are therefore going to be able to keep up and cope with any really gradual changes in weight so you don't really even notice. And the only time that the weight really becomes noticeable is when there's instantaneous changes, such as if you immediately add lots of extensions all at once, heavy accessories, or mainly when you wash the dreadlocks and the water gets added and you can really feel the difference between dry and wet dreadlocks. All the time at the back of my mind, there was an experience that I had that involved dreadlocks and a whole lot of neck pain. And I was sort of in two minds whether I should include it in that video or not, because I was like, well, it doesn't directly relate to most people, and hopefully it will not ever relate to a lot of people. But I think it's maybe still worth talking about, so I've given it its own video here, and we're going to share this not so fun experience. So if you've seen my dreadlocks and neck pain video, you'll know at the start I was wearing a neck brace. Sort of for comic effect, it was funny to wear. But the thing is, I didn't get this neck brace specifically for that video. I already had the neck brace, and I've already had to wear the neck brace. Already had to wear the neck brace while I had dreadlocks. So let's get into it, shall we? About 6 years ago now, my dreadlocks were 2 years old. I was in a minor car accident. So I'm gonna use the word minor because it was really minor, and I don't want sympathy for it because it was silly. We were at an intersection, stopped, waiting for our turn to go. A guy behind was like driving with his eyes closed or something, and drove straight into us. It was a knock that jolted me forward. At the time I felt nothing, like I was just shaken up. We'd been knocked from behind. I was startled. But as time went by, I started to get more and more bruising and pain in my neck, and I had suffered a whiplash incident. And the thing is, this built into quite an issue for me. So this is at the start of summer. In fact, it was before summer. The incident took place in May, and I was dealing with problems all through till August, and I was still noticing things about 12 months later, so it was not fun. So here's the thing, I injured my neck, it became very bruised and sore and sensitive, and that meant that any sort of off-centerness on my head was really painful, and any sort of movement was not enjoyable. And if I had no dreadlocks at all, still wouldn't have been fun. But with the dreadlocks, any sort of movement off-center meant that the dreadlocks also pulled that way. And it meant that I was having to wear this neck brace an awful lot because I needed to keep my head straight, and I also used the neck brace to hold my head up. So it's taking pressure off of my neck. My neck's not having to hold up my head or my hair. The neck brace is doing the work. So I wore this all through summer. All the way through that summer, I was seeing doctors, and I was going to see how do you pronounce that word? Physiotherapist once a week to get like my neck checked out and sort of massaged. And when I was seeing these people, I was under the impression, or I was sort of feeling like, yeah, well, it was a minor incident, I should be feeling better by now. But I knew, I could feel the weight of the dreadlocks. Even though before the incident, I didn't notice the weight. When my neck became so much more sensitive, I did notice the weight, and I could feel that I didn't think that the dreadlocks were helping my recovery. The worst thing about it, the thing that sort of pushed me to the edge, was washing the dreadlocks. Because obviously, the heavier the dreadlocks are, the more force they're going to put down on a neck. Just thinking about it makes my neck start to feel sort of cramped up. When I was washing my hair, the heaviest as you're doing the washing, so when they're saturated with water under the shower, I was in so much pain when I was washing my hair directly afterwards. I was having to hold the dreadlocks up to take the weight off of my neck. But I think the worst part, even worse than actually being in the shower, was the drying, because the drying takes, quite a while. And all that time, there's sort of this heavy aching. When I was having these issues, I was having to dry my hair by laying on the bed and having my hair hang off the side of the bed and blow drying down the side of the bed, because I could not sit for the amount of time that it took for me to dry my hair. I couldn't sit there with the dreadlocks hanging like that. And yeah, it was just not a good thing. And that's probably about the closest I've been to needing to or wanting to cut my dreadlocks off, because the whole time I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going around and everything's getting a lot worse when my dreadlocks are being washed. So each week I feel a little bit better than I wash my dreadlocks, and it feels like it's getting worse. So I'm feeling like, well, I think the dreadlocks are maybe inhibiting my ability to recover from this. So as time went by, the pain wasn't unbearable. I'm not going to be like, oh, it was so painful, because it wasn't. It was just bad enough to be really annoying and uncomfortable and sort of stop me from doing all the things that I wanted to do. So I really thought about it. I was like, well, I don't know how long it's going to take to get better from this and get my head back to normal and my neck back to normal if the dreadlocks aren't helping, because I'm having to wear this neck brace an awful lot, and that means it's taking pressure off of my neck, holding everything up, but it also means that my neck is becoming weaker, the muscles there aren't doing any work, so I'm having, you know, pain from bruising and then pain from the fact that my neck is no longer used to holding up my head and hair. It all came to a head at the end of that summer when I did a major trim on my hair. At the time, my hair was maybe not as long as it is now, but it was maybe down to here, and I cut it up to here. I took between 4 and 6 inches off each dreadlock, and while that didn't seem like a lot, and you know, I'd been used to the weight of dreadlocks at the time, when I took off that, it made a noticeable difference because my whole head was lighter, it took some of the pressure off my neck, and it also meant that the dreadlocks washed and dried fast. There was less dreadlock to wash in general, and the new tips were a lot faster to drain water, so it became a lot easier. And I think that is probably the only sort of reason that I was able to get through it. I think trimming was sort of a halfway between keeping the dreadlocks and cutting the dreadlocks. I sort of didn't cut them all the way off, but I cut half, and I think that if, well, not half, but it was, you get the picture. I think that if the pain and stuff had not got any better from the trim, that I would have probably been tempted to cut more and more and just cut the whole thing off. Eventually, things got better. The pain reduced and I was able to become more active and then start to rebuild the muscle strength in my shoulders and my neck that I'd lost from sort of not being active and wearing a neck brace all the time. I think being active is really important when it comes to growing dreadlocks, at least growing them to longer lengths, because you have to have the strength to sort of counter the weight of the dreadlocks. They grow slowly, they gain weight slowly, but they do gain it, and unless you're sort of at least active to a point to build the muscles to counter it, then they will start feeling like they're getting heavier and heavier. But if you're moving around and stuff, then they might get slowly heavier, but you get slowly stronger, and it's not a big problem. If you're not moving at all, then it's gonna be an issue. I've since grown my dreadlocks longer than they ever were before I had the problem, so I know that it's not specifically the dreadlocks that are causing the issue, because they're longer now than they were then. It just really shook me up to be in a situation where my neck suddenly lost all its ability to hold up the weight. They sort of built up the strength, and then I was really knocked back down again. There have been times since when I've been annoyed with the dreadlocks. I could use a stronger word than annoyed, but I try to keep my videos family friendly, family accessible. I don't like to curse, but they've annoyed me since, and I've been in times when I've wanted to, you know, I've thought about cutting them, but that was probably the closest I got, because it was like a physical reason then, rather than just sort of other times it's just been a mental annoyance. When there's a physical pain, it's not good, but you know, I got through it. I'm better for it now, I suppose. See, I deliberately kept this out of the regular dreadlock neck pain video thing that I did, because obviously it's not really relevant to a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people are expecting to be in a situation where they damage their neck or whatever. And you can't really prepare for it, but it's something that's out there and something that can happen, and it's sort of, you take for granted your ability to hold the weight of the dreadlocks, but when it's taken away from you, and you suddenly have to deal with the fact that you're no longer used to holding that weight, it's not fun. Anyway, that's all I have here to share on that. It's a bit of a rant, a bit of a ramble. Probably better to keep it in its own video, so I keep the rambling sort of in one corner. But that was my experience with the pain that almost killed my dreadlocks. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative in some way, you can click the like button. If you'd like to see more videos from myself in the future, you can of course subscribe. I'd like to thank you guys for sitting through this video. If you made it this far, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you again next time. Farewell!